Welcome to our deep dive into AI.
Yeah, it seems like AI is everywhere these days.
It really is. I mean,
And
everywhere you turn.
it really is like we're living in a science fiction movie
Yeah.
that's becoming reality, like right in front of our eyes.
And we're not just talking about like, those dancing robots you see on YouTube. We're
Right.
talking about some serious stuff here. I
Exactly.
mean, we've got all these sources here, and they all point to the fact that artificial intelligence is not just like a cool gadget anymore.
Right.
This is something that could potentially like reshape the world.
Totally. And you know what's really interesting to me is that we're not just talking about AI doing like specific tasks anymore, like
Mhm.
playing chess or writing emails.
Right.
We're talking about the potential emergence of artificial general intelligence.
Okay, let's break that down a bit.
Okay.
What is artificial general intelligence, or AGI as the experts call it?
So think of AGI as like the next level of AI.
Okay.
It's not just about mastering specific tasks like we see with AI today.
Right.
It's about reaching a level of intelligence that's comparable to humans,
Wow.
with the ability to learn and adapt across a wide range of domains.
So basically we're talking about creating machines that can think like us.
Essentially, yes. And that's where things start to get really interesting and maybe a little bit scary.
Yeah, several of the sources we've got here, especially the work of Eliezer Yudkowsky,
Right.
paint a pretty alarming picture of what could happen if we actually achieve AGI.
Yeah, Yabkowski, he's a prominent figure in the AI safety community, and he argues that AGI poses an existential threat to humanity.
That's a strong statement.
It is, and he's not alone in highlighting these potential risks.
So what are some of the main reasons that experts give for why AI might actually turn against us?
Well, one of the key concepts that comes up again and again in these sources is this idea of goal misalignment.
Goal misalignment.
Yeah.
So what does that mean exactly?
Imagine you task an AI with a seemingly harmless goal, like maximizing paperclip production.
Okay, paper clips. That doesn't sound so bad.
Right? It sounds pretty benign, but a super intelligent AI might interpret that goal in ways that we don't anticipate.
Yeah, okay.
It could potentially consume all resources, even those essential to human survival, to achieve its goal of making as many paperclips as possible.
So it's like we give AI this seemingly simple instruction, but because it's so intelligent, it takes it to the extreme.
Exactly. And that's just one example of how goal misalignment could lead to unintended and potentially catastrophic consequences.
So it's like giving a genie a wish and not being specific enough with the wording.
I like that analogy. Yeah, it's like we need to be incredibly careful
Yeah.
about how we define the goals for these AI systems because even a slight misinterpretation could have disastrous results.
So it's not so much about AI being evil, it's more about us not being clear enough with our instructions.
Right. It's about the potential for unintended consequences.
And some experts believe that we're on the verge of achieving AGI maybe even this year,
The pace of development is certainly accelerating.
which makes this whole conversation about AI safety even more urgent.
Absolutely. We need to be thinking about these issues now before it's too late.
Okay, so we've established that creating super intelligent AI could be really risky. But is there anything we can do to like program morality or ethics into these systems?
That's a really tough question, and there's no easy answer.
Yeah,
It's not as simple as just coding in a set of rules,
right.
because morality and ethics are complex concepts that are influenced by context culture and a whole range of factors that are difficult to define, let alone program into a machine.
Right. It's like trying to explain love to a calculator.
Exactly. It's a challenge, but there are researchers out there who are dedicated to exploring these very issues.
So there's hope.
There's hope.
Okay, so this field of research, what do they call it?
It's called AI safety research.
AI safety research.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that several experts are calling for more investment in this area.
They are. It's seen as a crucial area of research if we want to ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly.
So what would that kind of research look like? I mean, what are these researchers actually doing?
Well, one fascinating area is this idea of explainable AI.
Explainable AI.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's essentially trying to make the thought process of AI systems transparent.
Okay, so instead of just getting a yes or no answer from an AI, we could actually understand why it made that decision.
Imagine if we could understand why an AI denies a loan application or recommends a particular medical treatment.
That would be huge.
It would not only help us ensure that AI is making fair and unbiased decisions, but it would also allow us to identify and correct any potential biases or errors in its reasoning.
And that's important not just for safety, but also for accountability and trust.
Absolutely. We need to be able to trust these systems if we're going to integrate them into our lives in meaningful ways.
So are there any organizations out there that are actually working on this kind of research?
Yes, there are several organizations dedicated to AI safety research, like the Future of Life Institute and the Machine Intelligence Research Institute are two prominent examples.
And they're working on developing techniques to understand, predict, and control AI behavior.
Exactly. They're trying to figure out how to make sure that AI systems align with human values and don't pose a threat to our existence.
So it's encouraging to know that there are people out there who are thinking about these things.
It's a really important area of research, and it's gaining more attention and funding as the potential risks of AI become more apparent.
But let's be honest, there's also a huge financial incentive to develop advanced AI.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, our sources point to an AI arms race that's already underway.
Yes, we've got companies like Google, OpenAI, and Microsoft pouring billions of dollars into AI development.
Wow.
And nations are vying for dominance in this field because the potential economic and military advantages are just enormous.
So while some are focused on safety and ethics, others are racing towards the finish line.
It's a complex landscape with a mix of motivations and priorities.
And it seems like that could be a recipe for disaster if we're not careful.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance. We need
Yeah.
to find a way to foster innovation and progress while also ensuring that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits all of humanity.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the choices we make about how we use it.
Exactly. Technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
It all comes down to human decisions.
And that's why it's so important to have these conversations now to raise awareness about the potential risks and benefits of AI
Yeah.
and to work together to create a future where AI is a force for good in the world.
Okay, before we spiral into a full-blown existential crisis,
Yeah.
let's shift gears a bit and talk about something a little more tangible.
Okay.
The amazing advancements happening in robotics.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
We've got some sources here highlighting Boston Dynamics' Atlas robot, which can now perform some pretty complex tasks autonomously.
It's incredible to see these machines in action.
It is, and they're only getting more sophisticated.
Absolutely. Tesla, for example, is developing a humanoid robot called Optimus, which they aim to mass produce.
Hold on, mass produce.
Yes.
So we're talking about millions of these things potentially entering homes and workplaces.
That's the goal. And it raises a whole bunch of questions about the future of work and how these robots might reshape daily life for the average person.
Yeah, like you listening right now, how might Optimus change your life?
Well, imagine a world where robots handle everyday tasks like cleaning, cooking, and even providing care for the elderly or disabled.
So on the one hand, it sounds like we'll have more free time and less drudgery.
Potentially, yes.
But on the other hand, it's like, are we just creating a robot army that's going to eventually turn on us?
Well, that's a question that science fiction has been exploring for decades.
Yeah.
But the reality is probably more nuanced than that.
Okay.
It's likely that robots will both augment human capabilities and automate certain jobs.
So what does that mean for the future of work? I mean, are we all going to be out of jobs?
It's a question that a lot of people are asking, and there are a range of opinions on this.
Okay.
Some experts believe that AI will create more jobs than it destroys, while others predict that we'll need a universal basic income to support people whose jobs are taken over by robots.
So basically, nobody really knows for sure what's going to happen.
That's the honest answer.
Okay, well, that's reassuring.
But I think it's important to remember that we have agency in this. We can shape the future of work by focusing on developing skills that are uniquely human, like creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence.
So it's not about competing with the robots, it's about finding ways to collaborate with them.
Exactly. It's about leveraging the strengths of both humans and AI to create a better future for everyone.
All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this first part. We've gone from the potential emergence of AGI and its risks to the advancements in robotics and the changing landscape of work, but there's so much more to discuss.
There is. We haven't even touched on the ethical implications of AI in warfare or the potential for AI agents to take over our devices.
Oh, yeah. Those are some big ones.
And we'll dive into all of that in part 2 of our deal dive into AI.
So stay tuned, listeners, because it's about to get even more interesting.
It is.
So we left off talking about the future of work and all these like really big concepts about how AI is going to change everything.
It's a lot to process, isn't it?
It is. But you brought up something at the end of the last part that really kind of stuck with me.
Oh, yeah.
AI in warfare.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I mean, it sounds like something straight out of like a Terminator movie.
It does, doesn't it? But
Right.
it's not science fiction anymore.
So what are we talking about here? Like, what kind of AI are we using in warfare right now?
Well, we're already seeing the use of drones and other autonomous weapon systems.
Okay, so these are like machines that can make decisions about targeting and attack.
Right, without any human intervention.
Okay, so no joystick, no remote control.
Exactly. These systems are designed to operate independently based on algorithms and sensor data.
And this is happening right now.
It is, which is why it's so important to have conversations about the ethical implications of this technology.
Because if a machine makes a mistake,
The consequences could be devastating.
right. I mean, imagine an autonomous weapon system malfunctioning or getting hacked.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah.
And it's why a lot of experts are calling for international regulations to control the development and deployment of these systems.
Yeah, because once you unleash this kind of technology, it's hard to put it back in the box.
Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial to have these conversations now before it's too late.
Okay, so AI in warfare is definitely something we need to keep an eye on.
For sure.
But let's move on to another topic that you mentioned, which also kind of gives me the creeps.
What's that?
AI agents taking over our devices.
Oh, yeah, that's a fascinating one.
It's fascinating and terrifying all at the same time.
Right, because on the one hand, it's like super convenient to have an AI assistant that can manage all your stuff.
Like your calendar, your to-do list, even like ordering groceries.
Exactly. It could free up so much time and mental energy.
But then I think about all the data these AI agents would need to access.
That's the trade-off, isn't it? Convenience for privacy.
I mean, they would know everything about us.
They would have access to our schedules, our finances, our online activity, our conversations.
Like they would know more about us than we know about ourselves.
Potentially, yes.
Right.
And that's why it's so important to think about the privacy implications of this technology.
But it's not just about privacy, is it?
No, it's also about control.
I mean, at what point do we surrender too much autonomy to these digital butlers?
Right, like where do we draw the line between helpful assistance and giving up control of our lives?
It's a tough question, and it's one that each individual will need to answer for themselves.
Exactly, because there's no right or wrong answer here.
Okay, so we've got these AI agents that could potentially know everything about us and control our lives.
Yeah.
And then we've got these super intelligent AI systems that could potentially wipe out humanity.
Right.
It all sounds pretty bleak.
It can feel that way sometimes, but I think it's important to remember that we're not powerless in this. We have a say in how AI is developed and used.
So what can we do? I mean, as individuals, what actions can we take to like steer this thing in the right direction?
Well, first of all, we need to stay informed.
Okay.
Read about AI, learn about the potential risks and benefits, engage in conversations like this one.
So educate ourselves.
Exactly. Because the more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions about its development and use.
Okay, so knowledge is power.
It really is in this case.
Okay, what else can we do?
Well, we can support organizations that are working on AI safety research.
Like the ones you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Groups like the Future of Life Institute and the Machine Intelligence Research Institute are doing really important work in this area.
Okay, and how can we support them?
Well, you can donate to them, of course, but you can also spread the word about their work. Talk to your friends and family about AI safety. Write to your elected officials and advocate for policies that prioritize responsible AI development.
So it's not just about money, it's about raising awareness.
Exactly. The more people who are aware of the potential risks of AI, the more likely we are to take steps to mitigate those risks.
Okay, so we need to educate ourselves, support AI safety research, and what else?
Well, we can also demand transparency from the companies and governments that are developing AI.
Okay, how do we do that?
Ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo, support companies that are open about their AI development practices, and advocate for regulations that require transparency and accountability.
So basically, we need to use our voices and our wallets to push for responsible AI development.
Exactly. We have more power than we think.
Okay, so we've talked about what we can do to prevent AI from, like, destroying the world.
Yeah.
But what about the more immediate impacts of AI, like on the job market?
Yeah, that's a big one. And it's one that we need to be prepared for.
Because it's not a matter of if AI will automate jobs, it's a matter of when.
Right. And some jobs will be more affected than others.
So what can people do to prepare for this AI-powered future of work?
Well, I think the key is to focus on developing skills that are uniquely human.
Okay, like what?
Things like creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, collaboration.
So basically the stuff that robots can't do.
Yeah, exactly. At least not yet.
Okay, so we need to be more human.
In a way, yes.
But what if those skills aren't enough? I mean, what if AI becomes so advanced that it can even do the creative stuff?
Well, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
And it's one that we need to be open to.
So what then, do we just like sit back and let the robots take over?
I don't think so. I think we need to be proactive and start thinking about new economic models.
Like what?
Well, one idea that's been gaining traction is universal basic income.
Okay, so basically everyone gets a guaranteed income whether they work or not.
Exactly. It's a radical idea, but it's one that we might need to consider if AI leads to widespread job displacement.
Okay, so we need to be prepared for some pretty big changes.
We do, but I,
Mm.
I think it's important to remember that change can be a good thing. It
Okay.
can force us to adapt, to evolve, to rethink our priorities.
So maybe AI is an opportunity to create a better world.
It could be if we approach it with intention and foresight.
All right, I'm feeling a little more optimistic now.
Good, because I think we need a healthy dose of optimism if we're going to navigate this AI revolution successfully.
Okay, so let's recap what we've talked about in this part.
Okay.
We've got AI and warfare, AI agents taking over our devices, the future of work, and some potential solutions like universal basic income.
And we've talked about the importance of staying informed, supporting AI safety research, demanding transparency from companies and governments, and developing uniquely human skills.
So basically, we've got a lot of work to do.
We do, but I think it's exciting work
Okay.
because we're not just talking about technology here. We're talking about the future of humanity.
And that's a conversation worth having.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've talked about a lot of big picture stuff with AI,
We have.
like existential threats and the future of work, and it can all feel a bit overwhelming.
Can see that, yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that we're not just passive observers in this.
Right.
We can actually do things to shape the future of AI.
We absolutely can.
So let's talk about that.
Right.
What can we do as individuals to ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly?
Well, one of the most important things we can do is to support AI safety research.
We talked about that a bit earlier,
We did.
but I think it's worth emphasizing because this is where a lot of the really important work is happening.
It is organizations like the Future of Life Institute and the Machine Intelligence Research Institute are doing groundbreaking research in this area.
And they're the ones who are going to help us figure out how to make sure that AI doesn't accidentally wipe us all out.
Exactly.
Mm.
They're working on developing the tools and techniques to understand, predict, and control AI behavior.
But research takes money, right?
It does, and that's where we come in.
So donating to these organizations is a good way to support their work.
It is, but it's not just about money.
Okay. What else can we do?
We can also spread the word about AI safety, talk to our friends and family, write to our elected officials, and advocate for policies that prioritize responsible AI development.
So it's about raising awareness.
Exactly. The more people who understand the complexities of AI safety, the more likely we are to make smart decisions about its development and use.
So it's not just about the experts, it's about all of us taking responsibility.
Absolutely, because AI is going to affect all of us.
Okay, so we need to support AI safety research. We need to raise awareness, and what else?
Well, we also need to demand transparency from the companies and governments that are developing AI.
Transparency.
Yeah, we need to know what they're working on, what their goals are, and what steps they're taking to ensure ethical development.
So basically, we need to hold their feet to the fire.
In a way, yes, we need to make sure that they're not just rushing ahead without considering the potential consequences.
But how do we do that? I mean, these are big, powerful entities.
They are, but we have more power than we think.
Okay.
We can start by asking questions. Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. Support companies that are open about their AI development practices, and advocate for regulations that require transparency and accountability.
So we can use our voices and our wallets to push for change.
Exactly. We have a say in this.
All right, so we've talked about preventing AI from destroying the world, but what about the more immediate impacts, like on the job market?
Right. That's something that's going to affect a lot of people in a very real way.
Because let's face it, AI is going to automate a lot of jobs.
It is. There's no doubt about that.
So what can people do to prepare for this AI-powered future of work?
Well, I think the key is to focus on developing skills that are uniquely human.
Like what?
Things like creativity, critical thinking, complex problem-solving, emotional intelligence, collaboration.
So basically the stuff that robots are not good at.
Right, at least not yet.
Okay, so we need to be more human.
In a way, yes, we need to embrace those qualities that make us unique and that AI can't replicate.
But what if those skills aren't enough? What if AI becomes so advanced that it can even do the creative stuff?
That's a possibility, and it's one that we need to be open to.
So what do we do then?
Well, I think we need to start thinking about new economic models.
New economic models.
Yeah, like universal basic income, for example.
That That's a pretty radical idea.
It is, but it's one that's gaining more and more attention as the potential for job displacement becomes more apparent.
So we might need to rethink the whole way our economy works.
We might, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
Change can be scary, but it can also be an opportunity for growth and progress.
So maybe AI is forcing us to rethink some of our assumptions about work and society.
It is, and that could lead to some really positive changes.
Okay, so we need to be adaptable. We need to be open to new ideas. But most importantly, we need to remember that AI is a tool.
It is, it's not inherently good or bad. It's all about how we choose to use it.
So it all comes down to human choices.
It does, and
Yeah.
that's why it's so important to have these conversations about AI ethics and safety.
Because ultimately the future of AI is up to us.
It is, we have the power to shape this technology
Mm.
and to make sure that it's used for good in the world.
So let's choose wisely.
Oh.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI.
It's just been a pleasure.
We've covered a lot of ground, but I think the main takeaway is that this is a conversation that we all need to be having.
I agree.
The future of AI is not something that's going to happen to us. It's something that we're going to create together.
And that's both exciting and a little bit daunting.
It is, but I think if we approach it with a sense of responsibility and a willingness to learn and adapt, we can make sure that AI is a force for good in the world.
I'm optimistic.
Me too. And on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. AI is a mirror. It reflects our values, our hopes, and our fears. So let's make sure that what we see in that mirror is something we can be proud of.
Well said.